Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission this past week declared the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Plateau State, Caleb Muftwang, as the winner of the governorship election in the state. According to the INEC returning officer in Plateau State, Professor Idris Amale, who is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of the University of Lafia, Nasarawa State, the PDP candidate Muftwang polled a total of 525 votes, 299 votes to defeat close rival and candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Professor Netawe Yitad, who scored 481,370. Now, INEC said that the PDP standard bearer won in 10 local council areas, including Jos South, Mekang Mangul, Lantan North, Lantan South, Bokos, Baraki, Ladi, Basa, Rayam, and Kyopan. While the APC candidates secured victory in 7 council areas, named Jos North, Kankei, Panshin, Kanam, Wase, Shandam, and Jos North, or Jos East, beg your pardon. Now, the victorious governor-elect joins us right now for a quick chat. I want to say thank you very much for joining us this wonderful afternoon. And let's start off by saying congratulations to you. Just captured the feeling of being the governor-elect and the next man to take Jos and also Plateau State into the next frontier.
Thank you, Sheol and Tolu. It's an honor to join you at this hour. I would say that the feeling of being governor-elect is both exciting and burdening. The excitement generated by our declaration is unprecedented in the annals of Plateau history. And that also tells a story about the expectations of the people. And so we feel burdened, and we are taking this with every sense of responsibility, that there is a yearning in the hearts of our people that ought to be met, and we need to trust God for the wherewithal to address those expectations.
Oh, very good, Mr. Muftwang. And it's Ni and Aaron, just to remind you on that.
Okay.
Yes, it's understandable. Now, let's take a look at some specifics here. Elections did not hold in 14 polling places of Jos North council area, and 14 Beavers machines had disappeared, while also 14 ad hoc staff were also missing. I'd like your thoughts on shortcomings like that while the polls lasted.
Well, I've said it publicly that generally speaking, the staff of INEC on the plateau ought to be commended, especially the top echelon. However, it's sad to hear about that incident of the disappearance of 14 Beavers machines. I'm glad that some of the officers have been arrested, but we are still asking questions. What about the rest? Because there were not less than 5 people managing every polling unit, the INEC ad hoc staff, as well as the security personnel. What we are asking is that the entire crew that manage every of those polling units should be arrested, and let them explain who instigated them to steal those machines and for what purpose. It's quite sad. They have ended up disenfranchising the people in those polling units, and because with their disappearance, those results had to be cancelled. And I hope they still remain cancelled, because that's what the law says. Therefore, without this blight on the performance of INEC, I would say the generality of places, there was substantial compliance with the law. And we'd like to commend those INEC permanent and ad hoc staff that stood their grounds on the side of justice, on the side of due process, and ensured the right things were done at the right time in the right places. That tells me that there is yet hope in the days to come.
All right, hope in the days to come. Your party in in the presidential election probably polled and actually scored INEC very, very low. But you're a beneficiary of the same system, understanding that you were in the opposition, right now becoming the dominant party in Plateau State, but you actually won as an opposition in this same election cycle. Talk to us, give us your own verdict and also your own assessment of INEC at the moment.
Well, like I said, it's a mixed baggage. What happened at the presidential election, particularly in some states, leaves a lot to be desired. So when you take national stock, there are many questions you need to ask and for which answers are yet to be supplied. Is it true that the beavers machines were bypassed in certain places? Is it true that voters were harassed, intimidated, and in certain cases beaten up for voter suppression? Is it true that there was vote buying, which was visible in several areas? These are questions that need to be answered if we are going to make progress as a nation. But within the entire INEC network, I particularly saw that in the last round of elections for the governorship and the House of Assembly elections, particularly on the Plateau, I can tell you that they did very well in terms of distribution of materials. So processes commenced early. And there were a few mix-ups here and there, which you can attribute to human error. But then, generally speaking, I think we can score them above average, because in certain respects, if they hadn't stood their ground, despite the influence of the government of the day with its control of the security apparatus, certainly the results would have been different.
Very good, Mr. Muftwang. Now, going back in retrospect, there were internal wranglings in PDP sometime in 2019, which enabled Governor Lalong to win the elections then. So what has changed in Plateau State PDP since 2019 and even in 2015, I dare say?
Yes, there were internal wranglings in 2019, truly. But since my emergence as candidate of the PDP, we worked in building bridges, in making sure that all the irritations we had amongst ourselves were reduced to the barest minimum, such that by the time we went into the elections, we were one big family. Of course, there were still a few dissenters here and there, but they were not sufficient to distract us from where we were going. And therefore, we kept our focus on the main objective, which was mobilizing the entire party machinery to win the elections, and we are glad that it has yielded the dividend.
Okay, yielded dividend, but Mr. Yuwatad of the APC still alleged wrongdoings, and he believes he actually won the election fair and square, that there were some probably underdealings to have actually brought you to the fore and to be announced candidate. What do you have to say to that?
Very strange conclusions in the Nigerian setting. Everybody knows that in the Nigerian setting, the government of the day has an unlimited advantage in the electoral process. And let me tell you this, on my honor, I have never believed in manipulating votes. I have never done it. I have never encouraged it. And particularly, we went out of our way to warn our supporters against allowing incidences of overvoting, because we knew we were in opposition. And I can tell you that the votes we got were the authentic votes that the people gave us. If anything, we are going to challenge the votes that our opponents got, our main challenger got, because we have every cause to believe that some of the local governments he purportedly won were certainly not the results declared by the people. I therefore want to think that on the whole, the results as declared shows that majority of the voters of the Plateau voted for the PDP, and it only confirms what happened during the National Assembly elections, where we won majority of seats in the Senate, majority of seats in the House of Representatives, and therefore the APC cannot invent the wheel. They lost the election from the first round, and they couldn't have recovered in the second round because what Plateau people have said clearly from the first election, that APC was not a party they had confidence in.
Be that as it may, Mr. Muftwang, let's talk about the caliber of your fellow contestants. Do you think this election was keenly contested in Plateau? Briefly, please.
Very keenly contested. I can tell you that every one of us, particularly the leading candidates, was eminently qualified to lead Plateau. I pay my respects to the Labour Party candidate, Dr. Patrick Dakum. There's a lot of institutional memory with him. There's a lot of international experience with him. It's just that the party the people chose for this election on the Plateau is the PDP. Yes, he has even gone ahead to congratulate me after the elections, which I appreciate very well, because it's a mark of his maturity and statesmanship. So it was a keenly contested election. There's no question about that. But the people knew what they wanted, and they have spoken very, very eloquently.
All right, I want to say thank you very much, Barrister Caleb Muftwang, Governor-elect in Plateau State, for joining us here on this day.